Hello and welcome to IC Show TV at IC 2018. Thanks for joining us. This is the latest in our series of panel discussions. Today the topic is looking at what could integrators and consultants do to improve the day-to-day experience of an end user. And to do that, I've got two lovely end users that have agreed to join me today. I have Jonathan Owen at the NTEF from the University of Warwick in the UK, and from all the way from Australia, we've got Carmel Sang from Queensland University. Thanks for joining us, guys. So first question really, what could they do to improve the day-to-day experience of your life? What could they do maybe that they're not doing now? Jonathan, maybe you'd like to...
Okay, I think most universities in the UK procure through sort of purchasing frameworks generally with approved suppliers. And universities take two approaches. So one could be sole supply agreements where you've got a consistent relationship with your integrator or consultant, and others go out through tenders or mini competitions. So there's a difference between the two. Personally at Warwick we've got a sole supply agreement for a fixed term. That has its advantages, so we build kind of rapport and relationships with a single account manager, so they understand our requirements very well. But it's very difficult. We need to work closely together to gather requirements from the users. In terms of implementation, convergence with AV and IT is becoming more and more challenging, so it's not simply an AV project, it's an IT project. So certainly AV over IP, the challenges with quality of service on networks and so on. So it's challenging at times. I think building that relationship is really important. But at difficult times, those relationships can be strained, so it can be challenging to manage.
Carmel, what is
absolutely agree. Yeah? Absolutely agree. I think it's the relationship that you build with your integrators that's the platform that you build off, and I think them understanding what you're trying to achieve. So I think the closer they are to you, the better they'll understand that, what you're trying to achieve. And for us, it's about scalability as well. So within sort of the university sector, you've normally got quite a large amount of rooms that you're trying to look after. We're trying to standardise and across the fleet, so that's really important to us. And so we're in a similar situation where we have a preferred supplier arrangement. So we really work with 3 integrators, and we try to make sure that all of those 3 integrators are really clear on what we're trying to achieve, what we expect in our rooms, so that at the end of the day, our end users can walk into any room regardless, and they know how to use all of the AV. They're not learning the room, so they just walk in and it's exactly the same. They're getting the same experience, and it removes that fear for them. So, and it's about the integrators, really working with us to get rid of the bespoke and stick with our standards.
Sure. How do you build up that relationship? Is it just over time? That trust that's obviously got to be part of the relationship. How do you build that up? Is that just over time, or is that something they can do? Is it more regular contact maybe, or?
For me, I mean, I'm new into the AV industry. I've in the last year been building up these relationships with the integrators, and for me it is about that having that regular time together and really getting to know each other and building the trust, and just having those discussions where we can sit and bounce ideas. They can give me their ideas, I can tell them what I'm hoping to achieve, and we come to an agreement along that way. So, and it is that it's a trust, and it is something that it's easily broken, and it's having those open discussions with them.
Jonathan, how open is the communication at Warwick?
I think it's important kind of managing expectations on both sides actually. So we've moved between integrators in the past. I've worked at Warwick for 16 years now. So and when you do switch suppliers, you've got to start from scratch and build those relationships. I think it's important to set standards, and coupled with the expectations in terms of whether that's documentation, asset tagging, all these things that you require. I think it's easy as end users for us to expect integrators to read our minds and interpret that and deliver exactly what we want during commissioning and handover. So it does take time.
Have you had ones that have overpromised in the past, and then because they were keen to maybe get the job in the first place, or have you had that kind of issue?
Yeah, I mean that was one of the reasons we switched towards sole supply. It suited us at the time, and we've built an effective relationship with our integrator since then. But going forward, obviously things can change. It's a fixed-term purchasing framework, so we're always prepared.
And does that relationship you find get better over time because you have that shared history then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, more and more now. So Rob, who's with me at the show today, does a lot of work around system design. So we're leading a lot of the design with in conjunction with the integrator. So we very rarely leave them to go off and prescribe a solution. So they're learning from us, we're learning from them, and together we can come together.
Carmel, you mentioned earlier that you have 3 integrators.
Yes.
Does their work overlap at the university?
It does. So,
and then do you manage that whole process? Or?
Within our team, we sort of try to ensure that there's an equal share of the work that goes between the 3 integrators, and that keeps them honest. So, they're very aware that we are actively monitoring how much work each of them are getting. So, and they all naturally want to have the most. So,
and that's measured in hours or monetary terms?
Monetary terms. Okay. So it makes them try harder, I guess, in some respects, because they do want to be the leading integrator with us. So I think it's much better than just having one integrator. So, and plus two, like one of our integrators, really we specialise for them in the digital signage space rather than the installs and builds of our rooms. So we have 2 that really focus on the room builds and one on the digital signs. So
I guess the challenge switching between integrators is making sure you've got ownership over code, schematics, so that when you do transfer.
That's exactly right, and that's why we've spent a lot of time building our catalogue, so our standard catalogue, and having all that code and all of the specs behind it designed by our team. But they've done that in consultation with all 3 integrators, so we're all coming from the same space. And where the digital signage integrator we use, we're just starting to get them to do it some of our rooms, but we've got some staff on board as well that do installations. So we've sent them out to the integrator to work with them to put the first of a design together, so that we know that they're building it to the QUT standard and exactly what we expect. And it is about that expectation setting. We don't expect our work to come and not be all done in the same way. So we work with them to make sure they're up to that.
And how do you find that process? Because presumably when they're working, the 3 different companies, there is some crossover, especially with it's that infrastructure or something. How do you find that they have to work with each other? Are they good at doing that?
They are. They all know each other. Within Australia, especially in Brisbane, that's right. They all know each other, and they're all fully aware, that all of them are on deck with us.
I think integrators actually quite like to be told exactly what they need to deliver. I think the challenge comes where they're given such a wide brief that they don't know where to focus their time and attention, certainly in tender returns or any small or large project. So actually, the more information you can provide up front, and sounds like that's something you're doing, it's good for them, it's good for us. We all know.
It's a better outcome all round.
And Jonathan, in regards to the sole integrator that you use, is that for a fixed term, or is that on a project-to-project basis? How does that?
Yeah, so it's fixed term. So it's managed through the Southern University's Purchasing Consortium. So there's one of a number of consortiums in the UK. So there's approved suppliers on that framework that are vetted through the framework. So it's a 2 + 1 + 1. So it gives us the option after 2 years to review the contract if we're happy, if we're unhappy with it. So it gives us some flexibility. But yeah, we've tried both, and it can work both ways. It really depends on the integrator.
And how often is the contact between you and the integrator? Is it a daily thing or a weekly thing, or sometimes you don't see them for months? Or how does it kind of work on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, we're quite lucky in some respects. Our chosen integrator is fairly local to us. We've recently set up a 2-weekly meeting actually, just to manage the number of projects. And that can be, some weeks that can be a very light touch, so just touch base, just check quotes that are coming in, review some schematics, mark up some drawings for a building contractor. Some weeks it can be a full day where we're just trying to push through and get work done, but I think more and more it's key to have that regular contact to touch base, certainly this time of year where we're planning summer projects, so we're committing capital budgets and so on, so the more contact the better.
Well, the guys that you use, are they on site most of the time or not? Away most of the time?
Well, we're in peaks and troughs, so as the semester rolls along.
Around teaching?
Around the teaching, so we have roles happening through the break periods. But we do see most of our integrators probably 3 or 4 times a week. Wow, so we have a lot of contact with our integrators, and that's great. We really want them to be almost like they're part of the university structure. So we have like staff for our integrators or for our main account managers. So they actually get QUT staff cards, and they can come and go So yeah, but it's important for them to be in and out as the jobs are happening. So.
And their points of contact is the AV team that you're part of?
That's right.
And same at...
Yeah, so one question I was going to ask you actually, in terms of, do you manage everything centrally at your university? So every AV project comes through?
No, it hasn't in the past, but we have just had a realignment at the university. So we were managing around the 380 rooms ourselves centrally, and there were around 300 rooms that were managed in the faculty space. Now some of those entered into maintenance agreements with us, and some of them managed them themselves. So they would go directly to the integrators. That really didn't work that well for us, because that's where we lost the sort of standard catalogue, and that's where the bespoke came in, and then the faculties would want us to come in and fix things when they didn't work, and we'd had no interaction in what they put in there, and that usually comes down to the user having an idea of what they want and telling the integrator to put in a certain thing, and then it not really doing what they wanted. So we've just had a realignment, so now all 682 rooms are sort of with us, and so we've got a bit of work ahead of us now, just getting those extra rooms up to our standards. So.
Cool. I mean, is there anything, question to both of you, is there anything that the integrators or consultants do now that you particularly like and are pleased that they do it, or is there anything that maybe they don't do right now that maybe you'd like them to add to the kind of the services of what they do? Is there anything, Jonathan, is there anything maybe?
I mean, I think that the big shift is kind of AV over IP across the industry, and that's challenging for my team. You know, there's a skills gap there that we need to address, and we need to retrain. Okay. We need to work closer with the IT team, so I'm part of an overarching IT team, but there's network specialists and so on. So somehow we need to bring that all together on the larger projects.
Does that also mean that the integrator can do all that remotely as well then?
Yeah,
or can keep a 24/7 watch on kind of what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So open systems up, but just in terms of project delivery, you know, it's a wider piece of work now where it's not just the AV team managing the integrator, it's the AV team with various other teams with different specialist knowledge. So certainly on the networking side of things, it's really important that the AV integrators are talking to those teams as well. That's something that's fairly new to us, but it's something we're really pushing hard on.
Yeah, no, that convergence is it is going to change the way we work, and so it's going to change the way the integrators need to interact with us. And I do think it comes down to then having the integrators at the table with the networks teams, with us, with the facilities management, and we actually come as a collaborative approach. And I think that's the way we're moving.
How does, between the two of you, how does the IT team and the AV team coexist at your university? Jonathan, maybe are they the same building, same room, or so?
Yeah,
or is it kind of separate entities?
I'm an IT service owner. I sit within IT, sit within service delivery. Our main IT building is separate to where we're based. We're in central campus, at the heart of campus, in the teaching spaces. And we've been in IT for sort of 15 years. So other universities in the UK, it can be different. They can sit within space management or estates. But going forward, it's logical that IT and AV are going to merge together more and more. So it's a real challenge in terms of handing over a project. It's not a case of fitting a projector or an AV system and handing it over, and it's completely separate. The project can succeed or fail, if things aren't in place. So I think we've all got to change, the integrators, as end users.
Carmel, how does AV and IT live in Queensland? Are they
same
room, same building, or
no?
completely?
So we're spread. So we have multiple campuses. So we have IT and AV teams on both campuses. Plus we still currently run an AV workshop. So we've got the AV workshop on one campus that. We've got support teams that are based on both campuses, and our AV support teams are actually embedded with our IT support teams. So, and those teams will share the workload. So we'll have an AV specialist, but they'll take an IT person with them, and so we're cross-skilling because we very much see that's the way of the future. So,
cool. That's been a great insight, you two. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.